being a hairdresser, you tend to do everything by the clock, everything's by the time. You gotta make sure you're on time for your customers and make everybody feel comfortable. And so I'm so glad everybody's here. I just want to tell you how humble I am and grateful that you're here. Obviously, everybody that's here and those who were not able to attend have really been an integral part of my mom's life. And also, obviously, my life too. So I'm going to start. This is kind of like a little journey of my mother's life. And so, back in February 1st, 1933, it was the silent generation. Some of you might know that. And it was the Great Depression. But in that time, Rosa Haydee de Rivera was born to Manuel Sarmiento Manzano and Laurentina de la Rivera. It's very hard to read that, but that's actually her birth certificate. And I went through a lot of papers and a lot of pictures and documents and all kinds of things. And some of you were able to get some of those pictures and things like that that I was able to uncover, and I thought they were meaningful to you. So that's why I gave them to you. So anyway, my mother was born in a town called Recoleta. And it's a northern part of Chile. It's a section of a valle, and I'm still learning. I'm learning along the way as I was going through all this and finding about the history of my family. She came and arrived here in 1957. She worked in a factory called Audio Tape. This gentleman here, his name is Frank Zvitz. He was Russian. And he would actually meet with my mom at the park, and he would help her with her English and her classes of taking hairdressing. This is her graduation class. You can see her, I can point to her, okay? Back then, even when I went to hairdressing school, we used to wear white smocks, or we had white uniforms. So I remember the white uniforms. This is when she used to live, if I remember right, this is obviously before I was born, but I guess it was called Ambassador Arms. If anybody knows where that is, it's downtown. It doesn't exist anymore. So in 1961, she did such a great job in her work, and she loved what she did, and her teacher was very strict. And basically, he just didn't want the students to waste their parents' money. So he just, my mom was just excelled at what she did. And by 1961, was able to manage a salon called Theodore's Stylist. Now, I'm sorry, that's just so pixelated, I didn't expect it to come out like that. But she was able to take over a salon and manage it, and afterwards own it. Here's some nice old pictures of her that I thought would really kind of picture the times. So where did my mother get all this energy and being able to work as hard as she did? Well, she learned from this lady. See, when my mom was much younger, and I don't know the exact age, she ended up living with her mother, with her aunt, and her name was, I gotta write this down here. It's Irene de la Rivera Osondon. It's so hard to understand the Chilean way of the way the names go. But anyway, so basically my mother's aunt raised her up in the mountains in Chile. And she gave her a really good, strong work ethic, very strong work ethic. And as a matter of fact, I think if I understand the stories are true, that some of the men thought they could push her around. But this lady, she just knew how to kind of not let herself get pushed around, and she was really a very good, strong, I wouldn't say mentor, but just a good motivator for my mom to follow. So, in 1967, doesn't say that on there obviously, but she ended up purchasing a salon called Springdale Beauty Salon. And she purchased it from these two ladies who were retiring, Frances and Vera. They had just retired, and my mom took advantage of that. And as a matter of fact, I think even between that, there was another salon that my mom was working at before she bought the salon. This lady right here kind of followed my mom. She worked and she graduated with my mother. Her name is Judy Corrido. And Judy had been there from almost day one. Actually, as soon as my mom opened the salon, she started working for my mom. So she'd been with my mom for about 36 years, I think, before she ended up passing away. And somewhere in between, this little guy was born. Now, that was the fashion of the day, that haircut. At the time, there was a point where my mom was working so hard that, on weekends, sometimes she couldn't take care of me, so I was kind of taken care of by these nuns right here. Now, the name of the school is called Our Lady of Grace, and I'm going to read you, this is their mission. It says, united as a religious family through their special devotion to the Sacred Hearts, and by their profession of the evangelical counsels of chastity, poverty, and obedience. The sisters, and they were called the little workers, live, pray, and work together, and their life of communion, grounded in contemplation and in imitation of Jesus and Mary, is a source of support in all they do. And I'm so glad because these are actually all the nuns I actually remember when I was pretty much almost growing up there. That brings us to this special person. This is Angela Borg, now Jen Corelli. My mother instilled in me gratitude. This is Angela Giancarelli. She's sitting actually almost behind you. And so my mom would bring Angela, she comes, with me. We used to go on all kinds of to the park, everywhere, pretty much. I mean, Angela was we call my adopted little sister. But I was hellacious. I admit, I was hellacious back then. I didn't want to share my mother with anybody. Never. To my mother, don't you put your arm around my mother. But Angela, she just, she was actually living with the nuns. She lived at Our Lady of Grace Convent. And so, she would call my mother Auntie Haydee. And so, as I said, my mom had just a heart for other people and very generous. Then back to the salon. There were some other ladies who were able to be a very big, important part of my mom's salon and working there. You see my mom still left, and the lady in the red and white, that's Jill Colucci. She had been there for quite a while, so she went on her own. And then Judy again. And then to the right is Haydee Memorial, and she had been there for a while, and she decided she didn't really want to do hairdressing again, which, I can understand. You find other things that you are interested in. A couple of shots of my mom doing hair, and that I would say is back in the early 70s. My mom always, it's kind of neat, we got a time date on that one. Back to the uniform. Remember I was showing you about the uniforms? Well, I'll tell you, because of the fact that they wore uniforms, and sometimes you wear 2 or 3 days in a row, and some of you are obviously familiar with permanent waves. The smell of permanent waves permeated in her uniform, so when sometimes she came home, the smell of the perm just kind of like repelled me. It was terrible. Oh my gosh. I was like, Mom, okay, Mom, just back up. And every once in a while, I would do her hair. Now, I'll tell you, those of you who really remember my mom's hair, it was thick and it was coarse. And for me to do a perm on my mother's hair was terrible. It was really hard because her hair would pop out. I'd roll the thing on there and it would pop out. I got like 2 or 3 done, another one would pop out. I was like, oh my gosh, her hair was just, I don't understand why she even wanted to have a perm in the first place, but you know, she's Mom. Even when she's getting her hair done, she's got to work. Now, a lot of you, back to the work ethic, and having your own business. My mom always wanted to make sure the place looked clean. I mean, you would come to the shop and you see sometimes between customers, she sees a little thing in the floor. Gotta get that. Gotta get this. You know. Oh, the fan has dust on it. You know, whatever. You know, obviously she couldn't do it, so I had to do it because. You know. Anyhow, so yeah, that was Mom, always working. Once again, doing hair. These are her a little bit in her later years doing hair. And this is the salon that some of you would recognize. These are the old chairs that we used to have. And it was very colorful. Actually, there was other changes, and I'll show you some of the changes of the outside of the salon that we went through. Now, the salon was also not just a place for getting your hair done. It was a place for celebration. We had birthday parties. I had my birthday party there, my mother's birthday party. We had anniversaries there. We had so many different events there. It just worked out great, and people knew how to get there, especially those who knew my mom very well. This is funny. This lady right here. Her name is Joan London. She passed away a few years ago. She was probably one of the first people my mom used to do, and she had been there for over 50 years, even before my mom had a salon, I believe. But it's so funny because my mom didn't know how to call her Mrs. Lundberg, so she would call her Mrs. Jones, even though her name was Joan. But I thought it was kind of cute because she just, even afterwards, when Mrs. Lundberg was not able to come to the salon, my mother would go to her home and do her hair. And that's another thing that my mom did. I remember her telling me that before she even had a salon, she was working at the hospital. They had a salon in the hospital, and she would do people's hair there. I mean, she just did what she had to do to make it, make ends meet. So here's some more of the celebrations that we had at the salon. And I think some of you probably remember some of these celebrations. Birthdays, there you go. You're getting your hair done. You're getting a cake sent. That's another oldie. And actually, so if you see where the desk is, and some of you remember this, know this line well, if you see to the far left, that's the mirror that's now on the opposite wall where the dryers are. I mean, and the walls had different colors on it. It was kind of bright, like reddish gold, whatever. And even the chairs are old. So it's just kind of the way the salon used to look like way back when. Another birthday. Getting color and you're getting having a color in a cake. Oh, our festive celebrations. Hiding out in the back in the kitchen. we always seem to make it work. You know, it wasn't a big space for our events, but we always seem to make it work. Now, there are people who come into your life. These are all celebrations. But these two ladies right here, it's hard to find pictures of them together all the times, but these two ladies were the blonde in the middle, which is Janine DePanny, and the lady to the right is Doreen Harry, and actually she's my godmother. They were the first people my mother kind of met and worked with when she worked at Audio Tape. So you could say that they're her oldest and greatest friends. And it's a very bad picture, but that lady in the middle, her name is Amelia Cosiolo, and she would take care of me once in a while too when I was little. And we had great festive feasts. I was exposed to food that I never had before because it was wonderful. Italian, a lot of people know the Italian Christmas. I mean, it's a lot of fish, you know, so I really got exposed to some really interesting food. So, in between, my mom, even in earlier days, as you saw actually it wasn't really easy to read, but the fact that my mother had traveled in between, every year she got things to go to, and I just wanted to share, these are coming out of her passports, but she got a chance to go and visit some wonderful places. As you can see, that's Disney World in the back. And it's my father. I'm gonna kind of go through these a little bit quicker because there's quite a few pictures of the places that she went to. Go back that way, yeah, all right. Also, Doreen Harry, as I said, she is my godmother. They traveled a lot. She was my mother's really great companion for traveling. They went, you know, all over. And then, if anybody recognizes this is Venice, she got a chance to go to Venice. And I think, I'm trying to figure what she's riding. I want to say it's a camel. Yeah, I think it's a camel there. It was hard to tell. Some of the pictures obviously are not the best quality. I don't even know what that is, but but she got to see some great places. And this is when she went to Israel. And my mother is to the, and my godmother is up above. Actually, from my understanding, it was that some of the temples, you were not allowed to go in unless you were, you know, the women were not allowed to, unless they were kind of covered up here. So my godmother was forced to wear that, which she has on right there. And they went on cruises. And it's my godmother again. So like I said, you'll see a lot of pictures of my godmother in there. And I don't know, this is Connecticut. Does anybody recognize that place? Gillette Castle? There you go. Boy, I did put a lot of pictures over different places. Jerry Marr, yes. Right. Liberty Bell. Another cruise, I believe that was. And I think this was in Venice again. And this is not the love boat, okay? I just want to let you know, this is not the love boat. She was not looking for love in all the wrong places. That's a really bad picture, but I'm not even too sure exactly what that was. And this, I believe, is Niagara Falls. Oops, I went too far. Ah, how did I get there? All right, I went too far. Let me back up here. All right, oops. Okay, medieval times. So that wasn't really a adventurous trip, but I thought it was a kind of neat picture. So my mom, obviously, getting into business, and before she had the other cards that she had her own business card. Really simple. I mean, there was no way to contact. There's no phone number on there, but I thought it was kind of neat. She didn't know what she was doing back then. So when she first came to the country, she applied to be a citizen. Was able to find that citizen intention to be an American citizen. And by 1971, in February, she was able to finally become an American citizen. And I'll tell you, my mom was so proud to be an American citizen. Those who've been to the salon know how much that salon would be decorated for the 4th of July. I mean, we had red, white, and blue all over the place. My mom had to make sure there was a flag out at the house, even sometimes way back when, above the apartments in the building. I mean, you had to have red, white, and blue. That's it. I'm an American. And sometimes if there was a customer who said something negative, my mom was like, you can go back to wherever you came from. But she was definitely very patriotic, I guess you'd say. I know that's kind of a bad word nowadays, but So as I was saying, the salon went through different changes. And this is kind of the old brick stucco that we had on the building floor. And by 1974, the salon was able to have a new name. It went from the Springdale Beauty Salon to Haydee Memorial. I actually remember sitting there, my mom was trying to decide, what are we going to call this salon? I want Haydee, or what, So one of the customers came up with coiffures. It's French for hairstyling. So I said, okay, let's go with that. I was actually in the whole process of kind of figuring that out. Like, I didn't have much of an input. I said, okay. And then we obviously got the siding on there. And actually, the awning is what really changed. So we kind of changed our awning. We try to make it a little bit more salon looking with a blow dryer and scissors and comb. So this is kind of the part where we talk about family. And as you see down there, she says, I'm babysitting for my grandchildren. I drive for FISH. FISH was an organization called Feel I Should Help that would be bringing people to doctor's appointments and things like that. And this is in addition to running my beauty salon. So she always found something to do. My mom could not sit still. The only time I think she sat still is when she had maybe dinner and then kind of fell asleep in front of television, kind of like what I do now. So, yes, so I'd like to maybe invite my family to say a few things so that I don't sound so boring and we can get a little different perspective.
Hello. Okay. Thank you all so much for being with us today and for celebrating Hadee's life with us. Oops, I just pressed these on you. Oh, I shouldn't touch that. Anyways, also thank you for those of you watching on the live stream. We're grateful for you joining us as well. So to anyone who might not know who I am, I'm Debbie, I'm Bernard's wife and Hadee's daughter-in-law. I remember when I first met Haydee, or affectionately known as Mita, or Abuelita to her family. She welcomed me into her home immediately, as she did with anyone who knew her or came to her home or her hair salon. She wasn't very fond of formalities, in fact, and she insisted on me calling her Mita when I first met her, not Haydee, or never Ms. Della Rivera. However, formalities and traditions around birthdays and celebrations she loved and took very seriously. she would decorate both her home and her salon to the max. And I mean, literally, Bernard was saying, any holiday and all holidays that we celebrate here in this country, she had a plethora of decorations for, and she loved decorating. Regarding this country, her adopted home, she was very passionate about it, as Bernard mentioned. She made it a decisive point to learn English when she came to the United States and to get her citizenship as well. And along with her love for flowers and her garden, making and serving up an abundance of delicious food for family gatherings, and her absolute adoration for her family, she was an amazing woman. Mita's favorite bird was bald eagle. And I think she liked it most because of its regality and its representation of this country. My favorite Bible verse actually mentions eagles in it, and I feel like it captures Mita's spirit well. So I'm going to end by reading that. It's Isaiah 40:31, and it says, "But to those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint." Mita, Abuelita Haydee Khan, she'll never be forgotten. Thank you.
I'm gonna have to find my way back here. Maybe Scott can help me here. we kind of lost our pictures. Okay, I don't know which of my children would like to speak first. Okay, this is my son Joshua.
Raise the mic, stand up. Baby of the family, but still 6'5". Thank you guys all for being here and appreciating Rosa, Haydee, Abuelita, Mita de la Rivera. She was the type of person, and still is the type of person in my mind, to unite people and bring people together. I mean, just looking around this room at all of you beautiful people is a perfect example of who she was. She's the reason why. She's the strongest person I've ever known. I'm sorry. Her work ethic, her desire to be helping every person that she ever met, and bring them together in a place like this and just stay connected is something that I've modeled my life around. And I hope to be one day a sliver of the person that she was. She's the one role model that I've always looked up to, and just who I model everything around in my life, and so I'm so grateful that all of you are here right now just to celebrate her, because without her in my life, just as my role model, I wouldn't have any sort of foundation or any sort of direction, and so it's so great to see that she was such a similar thing for everyone here, and I'm so glad to be able to share her life and everything that she's done with all of you. So thank you all for being here.
I gotta bring this down here.
Hello.
All right. Now I'm gonna bring my daughter Cheyenne up.
Hi everyone. To second what my brother just said about seeing you all here today, it means more to me than you'll ever know. I don't know if you can hear me. Okay, great. That's better. Thank you. Okay. Hi. After Appalachia passed, I started realizing more and more how she instilled in me so many of my passions now that I have. And I was just looking through all her pictures, putting the albums together, that even more I realized that I'm so similar to her now. Like, she just really, from me being a baby, she introduced me to my love of plants. I saw in a picture, like I was pointing at plants that she had set up around the shop, and I love plants now. I love taking care of them, just like she loved taking care of her garden outside. And I know she had a lot of plants at the shop too, so she loved her plants, I love my plants. And she, coming from Chile and just being just this hospitable, loving, welcoming person, coming to America and just uniting people from different cultures and different backgrounds and whatever walk of life they were in, bringing them together at the shop, that instilled in me just this desire to create community and have such a love for the nations as well. That's what I want to do with my life, is to meet people from all over the world and traveling. And so that was another thing, traveling. Her love for travel is something that I didn't realize I had so much until a couple years ago. So it's crazy how she just planted these seeds of things that I'm just so in love with now, and just seeing her passions, how she lived them out, how nothing
There's Josh with one of his hairdos. These were probably like the year right before she passed away. Some of these pictures. So this is kind of weird that this is right in the middle, but this is kind of this is actually a a town, if you want to call it. I have to ask my brother. It's called Pichaska, and it's kind of the humble beginning. It's kind of where she was working when she was raised and she was growing up.
Could you tell me about Christmas?
Okay, oops, okay. So this is not Christmas. And you're going to find out some things about, let me back up a little bit. When she came to this country, I guess, and I didn't really research this other part, about the fact that, I guess in Chile, maybe I'm right or wrong, but when you have a wreath on the house, that means somebody died. Is that right? Okay. So she arrives in the country around December, and there are wreaths all over the place. Christmas time, imagine it's like, where all these people died? What's going on here? So this is, Cheyenne had an opportunity, and I had asked her to see if we can record some of my mom's beginnings. And so this is specifically about Christmas and my mother's Christmas.
Could you tell me about Christmas, what you were just saying?
Christmas. I didn't know what a Christmas was when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm. Really?
No,
No?
I didn't have any. We didn't have any. We go to church. That's what the Christmas time. We just go to church.
But I'll tell you, she loved the holidays. You can see decorating the house. As Debbie said, the house was tons of stuff. My mom never knew when to quit buying stuff for the salon. I'm like, I still have found things in the attic that have never been opened. That's how much stuff. And you know what? I think she got the bug in me because she had the little houses, the village and stuff like that. So every year I'd get her another village piece, which unfortunately there was no space to put it. Even at the salon, I tried to figure out where we're going to put it. So here are two customers. The one in the middle is Mary Licio, and that's her sister-in-law, Margaret Dorenzo, on the right. And one year they dressed up for the salon and actually had little presents and they gave them to the customers on their own accord. That was the really cutest thing. And Jill's in the back next to me on my right, and that's Judy on the left again. Not a very good picture, unfortunately. Sorry. I kind of forced the aprons because I thought it just we had to look unified. Flowers. Here's my mom. That's another thing. People had trouble realizing that our salon was a beauty parlor because my mother had so many flowers in the windows. I thought it was a flower shop. No, it's a salon. Yeah. Okay, this is the set part where there were very special people that come into your life. And some of these people are there for a season. For a season. Sometimes they drift in and out of your life. This is Amy Bridge. She used to live above the salon, and she used to come downstairs. Her husband had passed away. She didn't learn to drive until she was, I think, in her 70s, I think, because he used to drive her all over the place. She loved driving and getting things for us. She would, if we needed milk, she'd drive down and get milk, whatever. She would come down, take rollers out of the customer's hair. She would talk to the people, tell the same joke 100 times. Oh my gosh. I could always finish her jokes because she just kept telling them. But, she loved it. She loved being able to talk to the customers. She was really a staple mark in the salon. And this is Galvino, who's sitting in the back. Galvino was one of the first people that she met here, a Hispanic. He's from Mexico, and he has been very involved in the Latino community. And I wouldn't say just the Latino community. Yeah, that's where I think a lot more people would know him from. But he was also very involved in bringing people together. And I think he helped. He had a radio program, and he took a lot of pictures. Actually, there's a picture. I think that big picture with my mom and Judy that I showed before. He had taken that picture. I saw in the back of it. It says that. Through the years, he's come in and out. He's, still part of our life. Sometimes you don't see people for a while, but you can catch up to them, right? Like as if nothing has happened through those years. And there's Pat. She was so vibrant, so colorful. She brought color into the salon. I'm not talking about hair color. I'm talking about just the beauty of just life. And unfortunately, she's not with us either. But she was very special. And the Gerard family. And her sister Veronica, she had us singing this song in, what language is it? Now I forgot what language it is. But she was singing her song, and she just kind of got us just trying to sing along with her. We had trouble catching up with her. And this lady here, so some of you recognize her. She has the business next door from McCrease Designs. She and her husband have been so integral in my mom's life. I remember when Maria, her name is Maria, came, and she never made her appointment. She came, the first time she came, she made to make an appointment for her hair. She never showed up. And my mom's like, well, forget about it, But eventually she came back, and I don't know, God just weaves people in and out of your life. And she started with her dressmaking and clothing repair and all that downstairs below the salon. I mean, it was a little space, and she did it, and eventually she took the space upstairs. It used to be the liquor store, and has a great business. And this is her husband, Sergio. And he loved just doing things for my mom. I mean, whenever you needed something, he was there to offer help. I mean, and he does the gardening. Things had to be pristine with him. For my mom, it had to be just right because he knew how my mom wanted something. Now, I think I saw Christina come in. Christina, do you still want to be able to share? Okay. So, unfortunately, Maria and her husband Sergio were not able to come, but their daughter Christina was here. Do you still have it? Oh, okay. So I'm going to leave you with Christina.
Hi, everyone.
I still remember the day I met Aunt Haydee in 1998. She was one of the first people I met in the United States. My sister and I had not seen My sister and I had not seen our parents in about 7 years, and we had finally reunited with them. It was the beginning of our life in the US, and we were finally home and happy. And Aunt Haydee had a lot to do with that. Sorry. She was that successful and humble kind of person who always found a way to help her friends and even people she had just met, people like me. In our case, she was really the driving force that supported my parents. To help us get reunited. And I will always be thankful to her and Bernard for that. Aunt Haydee was not my blood relative, but it felt like it since the day I met her. She was always considered, I always considered her my real aunt. She took our family under her wing, and she was always present, guiding us as we built our life in this country. As I look back at her life and how she impacted mine, I treasure so many moments with her. It was hard for a teenager like me to adjust to a new life, but her friendship was always something that I could count on. Her advice when I needed to learn English, and her words of encouragement when I struggled with it. Her constant willingness to help my parents and simply being there for us when we needed her are memories I will always cherish. Aunt Haydee, I love you and I miss you. And I will always have a piece of my heart. I'm going to read something that my parents wanted me to talk about today because they couldn't be here. So this comes from my mother, Maria, the dressmaker. I met Haydee, my queen, as I used to call her, in early 1995, and she became my dearest and closest friend in this country. I want to celebrate the great person she was by telling you how I met her. She was the fearless friend who helped me get where I am today without expecting anything in return. I consider her my family, almost the only family my husband and I had for a long time, who never hesitated to provide encouragement or emotional support when my children were away from me. I became a seamstress in Chile when I was 20 years old. It is what I know how to do best. So shortly after arriving in the United States, I was struggling to find work because I didn't speak English, which was something I was working on. So one day, preparing to go see a potential job, I thought that if I went to get a haircut, I could have better possibilities of getting that job. So I arrived at Haydee Coiffures and the owner decided to do my hair. That was my Aunt Haydee. As we started talking, we both learned we had been born in the same country. Do you know how hard it is to find another Chilean person in this country, and so randomly? We hit it off immediately. She told me how much she missed the food and the wine, and I told her how much I missed being a seamstress and sewing. Then Haydee had something like, she said something like, a lot of people say they know how to sew. Wait. My aunt said something like, a lot of people say they know how to sew, but when they're asked to create something, it turns out they don't know how. To which I responded, oh, that's not me. I have been sewing for more than 30 years. Believe me, I know how to sew. I love how Haydee had no issues speaking her mind, and that was the first time I got to experience how honest she was. So she told me, I would like you to make me 2 dresses. If you're able to make them, I like them, and I like them, I will help you. The rest is history. She loved the dresses and helped me become a Grease Designs. She allowed me to use the basement at her salon to start my little shop, and when the time was right, she helped me get the corner front store where I am today. I owe Haydee everything I have today. Every time I hesitated or felt unsure about growing my business, she will always encourage and support me to take the next step, and I will always be grateful for that. Many of her clients are also my clients, and we will all miss her so much. As I look back to the day I met Haydee, I thank God for putting her in my path. Her friendship and love will live in my heart forever. And now I'm going to read something that my father wanted me to read. I met Haydee in 1995, and our family rented a small apartment where she had her house. Haydee was my great friend who helped me become a better version of myself. I want to celebrate her life by telling you how she was a great friend when I needed her the most. Back when I met Haydee, I was not smart about my health, and I used to smoke more than a pack of cigarettes a day. My first and foremost priority at the time was to work as many jobs as I could and save so I could reunite my family. I had 2 full-time jobs, one during the day and one at night, and the smoking, sleep deprivation and smoking sent me to the emergency room one day. My friend Haydee was there for me when I collapsed on the floor of my apartment. And she drove me to the hospital. I literally owe her my life. She was the kind of person who showed up when I needed her and helped take care of my family when I recovered. Also, Haydee also had no problem calling me out on my stupidity for smoking my life away. And motivated by her, I was able to quit permanently and turn my health and life around. I miss seeing Haydee in her garden. Every time I set foot on her house to take care of her garden, I can almost see her calling me through the kitchen door to get some coffee with her and catch up. She was an angel who crossed my path, who will always have a special place in my heart. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna move on to, thank you, Christina, by the way, thank you so much. I don't even remember that, but I do remember just a lot of the other things that took place, and just how much, I think if I remember right, my mom encouraged Sergio to learn how to drive. I don't think, so anyway, so we're moving to the part where, so there were new people that came into the salon, who were new employees, as we said. We have Dana in the middle, and Cindy on the right. And we were in a kind of a rough place because, Judy had just passed away, and we weren't too sure what we were going to do. And so somehow, one way or another, we found out that Cindy was a hairdresser. How did we know? I want Cindy to kind of share some memories. And actually, I'll get a picture there too. There we go. So I'm going to invite Cindy to come up and share some salon thoughts.
Well, it's a little more than that, but. Good afternoon, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, I'll introduce myself, even though Bernard already did. I'm Cindy. I not only had the honor of calling Haydee my boss, but I also called her my friend. I've known Haydee most of my adult life, so I know that family meant everything to her and her son Bernard. Her son Bernard, her daughter-in-law Debbie, and her grandchildren Cheyenne and Joshua meant everything to her, and many others that she also considered her family. Haydee was a trailblazer. She came to this country over 50 years ago. She learned the language, she went to school to learn her trade, and eventually became a business owner. I recall a story she told, and I'm not exactly sure how it goes, but she was working for somebody at a salon, and one day she needed to leave early to pick up Bernard. And her employer said something along the lines that this is not a daycare, this is a salon. And not long after this, Haydee would open her own salon and be her own boss. It's obvious to me that the statement from her employer at the time struck a nerve with her. It made her a more compassionate boss, and she made sure that family always came first with all of us. When I came to work at Haydee's, I had 3 children. One of them was still in diapers and not in school. And Haydee told me, don't worry, bring her with you. So I brought my littlest one to work with me, and my daughter inherited a ton of grandmas at Haydee's. It truly is a home away from home. Over the years, she's lent a helping hand to a countless amount of people. Many of you are sitting here today. It may have been a hug, a listening ear, a ride somewhere. Maybe it was a loan or a place to stay, but she did it with her heart, and if she could help you, she would, and she did. The atmosphere at the salon was always a happy and fun one, and Haydee put up with all of Bernard and my shenanigans, mostly Bernard's though. He and I had snowball fights, water balloon fights, and water fights that often started outside, but they somehow ended up inside the salon, where Haydee would always say, right? Stop bothering my baby. Stop picking on my baby. Even though it was always him that started it. I looked up to Haydee, I admired her, and had the highest respect for her. She was one of the hardest working people that I've ever met. If she wasn't doing hair, she was washing something, sweeping something, gardening. She never sat still. If there was work to be done, she was doing it. I even remember her coming to work and doing hair with a cast on her broken wrist. Who does this? If I could give you a message to take home with you today, I think Haydee would have liked it to be this. She always said, "Don't bring flowers to me when I'm gone. Bring them to me now, while I'm alive and I can enjoy them." She loved her flowers, she loved her family, she loved her friends. So I think her message to you would be, take time to enjoy the important things in your life now. Do it today, because tomorrow is not promised. I'm going to read you a poem. It's called Miss Me But Let Me Go. When I come to the end of the road and the sun has set for me, I want no rights in a gloom-filled room. Why cry for a soul? Set it free. Miss me a little, but not too long, and not with your head bowed low. Remember the love that we once shared. Miss me, but let me go. For this is the journey that we all must take, and each must go alone. It's all part of the Master's plan, a step on the road to home. When you are lonely and sick of heart, go to the friends we know, and bury your sorrows in doing good deeds. Miss me, but let me go. And I'd like to finish with proposing a toast with my imaginary glass here. But Haydee always said, salute, dinero y amor. Here's to health, money, and love.
And that's Cassandra. And there's Pat. I don't know if you know. So Pat is one that, well, they both have 50 Shades of Pink. So at some point, Pat's salon had a fire. So my mom, and I don't even recall this, there's so many things that happened at times that I was clueless. But anyway, my mother allowed her to use the salon to do hair. And this young lady on the right, Sylvia, so there was a program, it was called, oh gosh, a little song, I forgot the name of the program, but basically the premise of the program was to, for kids that just graduated from high school to have, learn some extra skills because they have, it's more like a learning disability. So everybody, she would just, Sylvia adopted my mom as like a grandmother, and they would talk, and Sylvia, basically her role was to do whatever was necessary in the shop, whether it's taking rollers out, cleaning brushes, and whatever was necessary. But she wasn't an employee, but she just loved coming to the salon and being very helpful. Now, I don't know how many people have been able to go, and this is the gazebo in the back of my mother's house. I used to have a basketball hoop up there, and I think I saw Steve. Did I see Steve? Yeah, there's Steve. So Steve used to live downstairs in the apartment, would play basketball in there. And then eventually, I guess I wasn't using it. My mom said, well, I got a gazebo, and I'm gonna put it in the back of the house. So here we got this gazebo, which really, we had all kinds of get-togethers, all kinds of family gatherings. Birthdays, and of course, there's the garden. There's my mom working on the garden. I mean, she had these gigantic, look how big those things, those are cannon lilies. She loved her plants. That was her passion. Where other passions. My mother actually said that if she did not have a salon, she would actually work in the flower place. That's the front of the house. It's two separate pictures, but that's just the front. I mean, that's not even very good pictures. But roses all over the place. I mean, the other passion was working on the grill. My mom, as we talk about festive, so much food, so much meat. I mean, I tell you, she had chicken, she had steak, and she had pork. And of course, you see the pig's head there. I wouldn't get near that thing, but there she goes. She just loved grilling. She just loved it. put that together. My mom also wants to inspire people, and this is another girl, Janika, who also helped out with the same program, the SEED program, was it?
Yeah,
The SEED program, that's right. And that's Juan, also who wanted to be a hairdresser. And of course, my mom got a chance to be in the newspaper. She kind of was able to get accolades for different things. So there was that point. So I'm not too sure people know that the traffic light that's right in the corner there was no traffic light for a long time. So my mother got a petition signed up and set up to get a light there because cars were just, I mean, they still do that, but they just to slow down the traffic. So there's that article about that. And then back with Galdino, through the Latino Foundation, she received a reward. Not a reward, but an award. Wow, I can say that right. An award. And there she is showing, there's Galdino in the background. And we were able to have Channel News 12 came down for the 50th anniversary that we had 2 years ago. It was 2017. And then she ended up getting another award. It was for being in business for 50 years. Yep, that's Mr. Zelensky. And here are just, the rest here of these pictures are just celebratory pictures, family gatherings. And when you're working too hard, you sit there with Duke. Duke was our dog. And I think that's Arthur. You can't really tell there's a cat underneath my mom's arm. That's Arthur. And that precious young lady, my niece. We used to have parties downstairs in my house. It used to be what I call my den, whatever. I guess we could call the man cave. And these are actually family from down in Chile. This is my mom's visit to Chile there. My mother with her sisters. And that's, as my Cheyenne would call that car. That car is a Dodge Intrepid. She called it Sharky. That was Sharky. And Cheyenne had a chance to use that during school. My godmother, Doreen. My Aunt Marta. And that ugly guy. My mother definitely loved life, and she embraced life. And my dad. And my aunt. There she is. It's kind of not a very good picture, but right in front of the salon, just taking it easy there. I didn't really, so this gentleman in the middle, his name is Jerry O'Brien, and this is where I talk about my mom reaching out to people. So my father had an apartment building around the corner from the house, and he rented obviously apartments. And Jerry had just been recently divorced, and he needed a place to stay, and he was living in the apartment, and he had 2 kids, Karen and her brother Mark. And my mom, like she did with Angela, we embraced them, and Jerry actually became almost like an adopted uncle, because I would call him kind of like Uncle Jerry, and he would take us to all different kinds of places. I mean, to the circus and all kinds of things. So Jerry was really a very important person in my life. And unfortunately, like I said, people come and go in your life. This is also in Chile. Yeah, getting her hair done. Celebrating. That's Marv. Marv used to have a business right next to the salon. And this is one of the last few pictures that we did. And my mom always wanted to make sure that she still had her hand in the business. I mean, she would work a lot slower. the last few months. She worked a lot slower, but you know, she still wanted to make sure she had her hand in it. She always asked me, what can I do? What can I do? There with her flowers. And then she got to a point where she had a lot of trouble walking. And she started needing to use a walker. There's special people in her lives here too. And I kind of was able to kind of get her to pose for that one. This is for Cheyenne's graduation. And my mom, for some reason, liked dressing me up in these really kind of interesting clothes. Look at that coat. Oh my gosh. I can't believe well, what could I do? I can't. Fran. Sam. All our celebrations, like I said, at the salon. And that's Marv. That's one of the gentlemen I said before had a business next door. Doreen. Oh, wasn't the best shot, sorry. We had so much fun at the salon. We used to do some really funky stuff, as you can see there. And that's obviously a very old picture. My mom, as I said before, always had to do cleaning. There she is, cleaning up, you know, finding something to clean up. And see the little young lady in the corner. That's Cindy's daughter, the one that was kind of raised at the salon when she was 3 years old, I think it was, right? 2. Does anybody know who that little person is? That's Cheyenne. So, as my mom, for some reason, she just never accepted defeat. You know, she'd go into the hospital. Sometimes we didn't understand what was going on. You know, something happened, whatever, and we could never figure out what was going on. She a couple times went to the emergency room, but you know, she always had a positive attitude. And as you can see here, I mean, it's amazing.
I feel pretty. So I am pretty. Never mind, I feel pretty.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you all for coming. I'm really blessed by you all being here and partaking in my life. I want you to partake of the food that's still here. I thank you that have been watching and taking the time to just be in our lives one more time.
Bernard, can we just say something from a customer?
Well, actually, if anything, maybe we can talk together.
Just a couple of things.
I wasn't planning on doing that, but if you have something you wanted to share, come up. So I have Aunt Cessa here. Aunt Cessa has been at the salon for quite a few years.
Some of us don't hear as well as others.
Yes, it's almost, you know what, I think it becomes,
Can you hear me?
yeah.
From a customer standpoint.
From a customer standpoint,
All right. All right, from a customer standpoint, I went into Hades about 13 years ago, not knowing what to expect. But what I found with Haydee was her warmth. She'd be outside working on flowers. She'd be inside sweeping, even right to the very end of her life. She was keeping the place really with a personal touch. She had more knickknacks, more souvenirs than anybody, even more than I have. But she made everybody feel special. The warmth she exuded really carried on with her family, with Cheyenne, with Debbie, with Josh, with her trooper, Bernard. And she would try not to boss him around, but she had a way of going and putting her little touch on somebody's hair and trying not to make Bernard feel lost or that he couldn't do things. But her hair salon really was like home to a lot of people, and people went there to hang around. Like Frank Pia would be sitting there, and I thought she had an appointment, but she'd just be spending time, killing time. But her warmth exuded right into her family and friends, that she made everybody there feel wanted and generous with goodies for them to eat, offering people rides to the hairdresser, picking them up, bringing them to the hairdresser. She had a flair for fashion, never lost it, with jewelry and clothing. And she liked to travel, and also I used to do a benefit for St. Jude's Hospital, and she used to support and give me, through Bernard and so on, gift certificates and so on. So she always liked to talk about her travels, and there's so many things about her, but her warmth really made the place like home to the customers. There's more and more I can say, but that's it.
Thank you, everybody. We still have some time here, and I don't want to do any more talking. I think it's, we have all this food here. I want you guys to take up this food, and I won't have so much time that I can actually talk to all of you.